I want to turn now to the BBC's Katy Watson. She's on the ground in Turkey for us this morning, and she has more about the turmoil as well as the chaos on the streets. Katy?
These tanks are being taken off the Bosphorus Bridge. Now, this Bosphorus Bridge was the first sign we'd heard of the events of last night. This is where we heard that there were tanks on the street, that there were soldiers blocking the entrance. Of course, this is a bridge that takes you from the European side to the Asian side of Istanbul. Now, when the military said that they were taking over, they imposed a curfew and martial law. But that was flouted by many people. President Erdogan came out to say that people needed to come onto the streets, to squares, to protest against this unfair takeover. So what you saw military and you saw Erdogan supporters. Some clashes, most of those were in Ankara, but there were some in Istanbul here as well. Now, the bridge is now open. You can see the traffic is moving. It is relatively quiet for a Saturday, but nevertheless, things are getting back to normal.
And as many are calling it Democracy Day, we want to thank Katy Watson for that. We want to bring in ABC contributor Steve Ganyard. Steve is a former Deputy Assistant Secretary of State with extensive experience in the region of Turkey. Steve, good morning to you first and foremost.
Good morning, Paula.
We want to say there's unrest all over the globe right now, but why is our government so concerned about this particular uprising?
Turkey's a key ally in the fight against ISIS. So there's an air base called Incirlik in Turkey where U.S. jets have recently been flying missions against ISIS in Syria. It's only about 200 to 300 miles. So the ability to influence the border along Syria, to get supplies into the rebels, to conduct airstrikes from Turkey is very, very important to the U.S.'s fight against ISIS.
And Alex mentioned it earlier in his piece. Steve, could the mastermind be living right here in the United States? There's a powerful Turkish cleric living in Pennsylvania. The Turkish president even went so far as to say his country will not be run from Pennsylvania. So what do you make of all of this?
Well, Mr. Gulen certainly is an interesting man. He lives in self-imposed exile in the mountains of Pennsylvania, but his ability to spur a coup or to run a coup is probably doubtful. Mr. Erdogan tends to use him as a whipping boy anytime anything goes wrong. So I think in this case that Mr. Gulen's denial of involvement is probably accurate.
Okay, so if Gulen is not behind it, then who is? Who are these plotters?
That's the question. You know, I think I've been talking to Turkish watchers for the past day or so. Nobody seems to understand who this might be, and that's still a mystery this hour. There have been 4 successful coups in the past in Turkey, but they've always been run by senior leaders, usually within the general staff. So this seems to have been a grassroots movement, and most Turkish watchers, even yesterday as it kicked off, thought that this coup would fail pretty quickly, and that seems to be the case this morning.
Again, Stephen, we know you spent extensive time in that region. We want to thank you for your insight this morning. Dan?
Yeah, Steve, thank you.